G'day guys and welcome back to English Aussie. We're going to do something a little bit different this week. We're going to start off with my review of how I went in game week 6 and what I thought of the games, followed by my game week 7 transfer plans, and then a little bit of discussion around forward planning, usage of chips, and what I think the optimal formation is that you need to start looking at for the future. So strap on your boots and let's dive straight into the video. So this is my team for game week 6, 71 points overall with the captain on Erling Haaland for a 32-pointer. A green arrow and a pretty good week. Looking at the team, I'm relatively comfortable with most positions in my team. I do slightly regret the Ricardo Calafiori pick over Gabriel. A massive swing this game week of around 12 points if you had Gabriel over Calafiori. I do think that Gabriel is the stronger pick longer term. I think probably Gabriel or Timber are my favourite picks in that Arsenal defence. Gabriel, due to the fact that he's just more nailed, whereas I expect both Timber and Calafiori to be rotating with Lewis Skelly and Ben White as we go on through the season and Arsenal compete in the Champions League and the other cups. Senesi, I think, is just a brilliant pick in everybody's team. Really good for defensive contribution points. Managed to pick up an assist this week as well, and just looked really nice overall. Maxime Lacroix, really unlucky not to come away with double-figure points. He was on for +4 for the clean sheet and also 2 or 3 bonus points before Chiesa scored in the 87th minute. I think it's a real fantastic pick going forwards. Virgil van Dijk, a bit disappointed, obviously, with Liverpool conceding the 2 goals to Palace. Looked like it could have really been about 6-1 in the end. Lucky that he picked up the defensive contribution points. Going forwards, I do think Konate could be an option. As we saw in that match, Mateta really pinned himself to Konate. Konate has been making a few individual errors for Liverpool of late, and it might be that the opposition attackers look to pin themselves onto Konate, which means he will be involved in more defensive actions, and he could be the more likely of the two to be picking up those defensive contributions as Van Dijk sort of covers in behind. In goal, I went for Raya. Obviously, Arsenal just with one mistake didn't manage to get the clean sheet this week. A little bit disappointing, but over the next 5 game weeks, I think Arsenal's fixtures are fantastic. I do think Raya's worth his 5.5 million in goal, despite not being able to pick up many save points. On the bench, I did have Joe Rodon of Leeds for his 7-pointer. A little bit unfortunate, however, and I did really consider actually having Rodon in the team in place of Calafiori this week. I even tried to swap him in last minute, but just too late for the deadline. I think Leeds have looked really good, especially at home. Rodon's been fantastic at that 4 mil price point for picking up those defensive contributions alongside the goal that he did score this week. In the midfield, Enzo's been a really nice pick. I think with Palmer out as well, Enzo looks like he's going to be on penalties. He's on free kicks. He's on corners when Reece James is not available. He's also someone that just inverts anyway from the defensive midfield role into the 10, getting into the box. And with Palmer out, it gives him even more freedom, potentially playing in that 10 role at times and really getting himself into the box and on the end of chances. I think he's a really nice pick and someone that you should definitely look at having in your team if you don't already have him. Semenyo, just a no-brainer for some reason this season, getting into just great positions after great positions, taking penalties, now taking free kicks. He looks like he's just an absolute talisman player for Bournemouth, and despite his terrible finishing, he's just been a fantastic FPL pick so far this season. Mohamed Kudus, unlucky, got a goal ruled out for offside. Also, a fantastic save from the Wolves keeper to deny him a point-blank header. Could have easily got himself a goal in that game for Spurs. Spurs have a really nice run of fixtures, and I do think with him being nailed in terms of minutes-wise and starting-wise, is probably the best route into that Spurs midfield at this time. Elliot Anderson, for me, someone that I'm potentially looking at moving on from the team. I do think he's been a little bit unlucky with some of the DEFCON points that he's missed out on so far this season, but I probably will give him another week with Ange just to see if he can pick up some attacking returns alongside those defensive contributions and see if Ange manages to transform that Nottingham Forest attack a little bit. Josh King, again, on the bench with 1 point, actually looked one of the best players on the pitch in the Fulham game against Aston Villa, certainly in the first half. was unlucky not to come away with anything and getting booked for simulation in the box for a second week in a row for Josh King. And for those of you that have started Josh King and do have him in your starting 11, I know that must be really frustrating for you. I think he is probably someone that looks like he will be coming out of my team next week, and we will talk about that as we go on to transfer plans in the next section. Up front, Erling Haaland, 32 points, a really great return. If I hadn't made that bet with Rico a few weeks ago and he took the responsibility of telling me when I had to play my triple captain this year, I probably would have triple captained Erling Haaland this game week. However, still a really nice result on captaincy for 32 points. And we go on with the green arrow this week. João Pedro up front, a little bit of disappointment, but Chelsea were looking good before Chalobah did get sent off, so that was a little bit unfortunate. Ekitike I held on to. I really do think that he's been probably Liverpool's best player this season. 3 goals and assists already so far in the Premier League. A little bit of youthful exuberance, shall we say, with his celebration to get sent off in the Carabao Cup. I actually expect him to keep his starting place in the lineup and replace Isak in the starting 11 next week for Liverpool. I think he's a really crucial part of that Liverpool team, and I don't think Isak is quite up to speed with everybody as yet. And I think Ekitike might get his starting place back for the Chelsea game. So I plan to hold on to him for one more week and see how he goes. So 71 points overall this week, 344 points total, and 1.3 mil in the world. I think I should be looking to get inside that top 1 million next week if we can have another good week, and then look to kick on for a top 10k finish this season. Things are looking pretty good. A decent start to the season. Not fantastic, but so far so good with this team. I think is looking strong, and we can look to attack with the transfers going through towards game week 12, where I think I will have a really nice setup for my team. On to transfer plans for game week 7. I do have one main plan for game week 7, and that is to move out Josh King and to bring in Eberechi Eze of Arsenal. I thought in that Arsenal game, Eze was absolutely fantastic. It was really unlucky to not have a goal. 2 really nice saves from Nick Pope to keep him at bay. I thought he was really great in that 10 role and something new that Arsenal needed really to create from that position. I think going forwards, as we go on through the season, I will look to potentially downgrade one of the Ekitike or João Pedro down potentially to a 4.3 million striker and look to upgrade in the midfield. Potentially, if I can look to even get up to a Salah, potentially for Mo Kudus or Elliot Anderson, that would probably be my optimal team. However, that might be difficult in terms of money. I think a really optimal strategy in terms of your forward planning is to make sure you have a really set, strong defence. I think that 4 at the back might be a formation that will see its way back into FPL for the remainder of the season. As I said on some of my earlier videos, if you haven't had a look, take a watch at them where I talk through the defenders, midfielders and forwards and the best at each price point. And how many points they have scored and who the best picks are at all of those price points. It really does go to show how the defenders are massively outscoring the strikers so far this season, obviously with the exception of Erling Haaland in there. And I do think that it's easier to be picking from a multitude of defenders that you're comfortable that are going to be returning in each week, whereas the strikers are a little bit more hit and miss. And if you can't get strikers with a really nice fixture run that are in form, I would suggest potentially going for a 4-5-2 or even at times maybe a 4-5-1, which I think is maybe a little bit less optimal. But I think the 4-4-2 formation might be something that does come back and become quite optimal alongside a 3-5-2 with one bench fodder striker so far in this season. Definitely something to consider as you structure your teams. I know some of you have your wildcard in reserve at the moment, and this is an option that potentially might allow you to have Haaland and Salah if you do look to have that in maybe a game week 12 wildcard. If you don't have your wildcard available at the moment, then I think this strategy still allows you to really strengthen in your midfield and in your defense, and really pick those sort of defensive contribution defenders that are going to outperform the attacking fullbacks over the longer term. Whereas if you are on that short-term strategy, I would look still to try and pick some of those attacking fullbacks that can get you the goals or the assists and those additional points alongside a clean sheet. I think some really nice options for your chips would be game week 8, game week 9 for a bench boost. Triple captain on Haaland next week again against Brentford could be a really nice pick. Brentford are a team who, again, are going to show a little bit of attacking intent, maybe a little bit more so than Burnley, maybe leave a few more spaces for Man City to exploit as well. Wildcard, if you haven't used it already, game week 11, game week 12 looks a really nice time to be bringing that in. Also, game week 8 after the international break could be a really nice time to use your wildcard, move into some of those Arsenal assets, see what the injuries are that have happened, and potentially try to pick up on some double price rises over that international break, which are coming. Check out my video on the wildcard dark arts if you do want to see what all the key things you should be doing when you're on a wildcard are to maximize your team value, make some additional money in your team throughout the week, and when you should actually be pressing that wildcard button during the week to maximize your potential for price increases. Thank you so much if you have watched this video all the way through to now. If you haven't already, please remember to give it a like, subscribe down below to the channel. This has been your English Aussie. Have a fantastic week, everybody, and I will catch you guys later.